Live from the Lavaredo Ultra Trail. This is La Sportiva Radio.
All right, we are back. This is the second year of La Sportiva Radio, live streaming this year from Cortina at the Lavaredo Ultra Trail. I'm Walter Kraus. I'm here with my partner, Jonathan Jono Wyatt, and he's going to be our guide and show us around, basically, as it were, the Lavaredo Ultra Trail this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. Band is back together, Walter. Great to be back here. Cortina is really buzzing. The weather's hot. The racing's going to be even hotter over the next 3 days.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, when they asked if I wanted to come back, I was like, "Are you guys crazy?" Absolutely. After seeing the atmosphere from the last year and be able to come here again, and the moment you get here, you're down on the main drag, the main street, Corso Italia. Just the supporters, the athletes you see walking around on the street. Just a buzz and excitement. It's fantastic to be back again.
Yeah, look, and I've been around a lot of races over a lot of years. I don't want to give away my age, but this race is really quite unique in terms of the atmosphere. As the race starts, the atmosphere builds, and the fans are banging on the sides, and the noise here is incredible. And it's one of those spine-tingling moments when you see the runners head off on Friday night to the 120K. So plenty of races coming, plenty of race action. Tonight, of course, at 5 o'clock starts the 20K.
It's a big one tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be, and that's a tough course too. It really climbs strongly up to the high point, and then races straight back down here into the village. And then, of course, starting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock will be the 50K, and that's one of the races which actually gets the most number of people, and one of the most accessible races for those thinking to start their first ultra.
And from what I've heard, that's one of the most hyped races. Obviously, the Queen, the 120, is the most important of the weekend, but the 50 is getting a lot of hype this weekend from people I've been talking with, because it sounds like there's a runner or some runners that are going to go out there and try and set a record, or do something special at least.
Yeah. There's been talk about records in the men's race in the 50K, but both women's and men's fields are going to be stellar this weekend, and we're going to have the chance to run through some of those top fields with Nicola Giovanelli, who's going to join us in a few minutes.
Exactly. Before we get to that, maybe we'll talk about really quickly for the supporters and fans and athletes that are around here on the streets of Cortina, just kind of some of the things that we have going on. For example, as you said, at 5 o'clock this afternoon, there's going to be the start of the 20K, but you'll start to see the racers already gathering about 4:30 in Piazza di Bona, right here underneath the bell tower. The excitement starts to build. Already this morning at 11 a.m. there was the kids race while we were warming up here in the radio box. They were going past us. It was awesome.
Absolutely, that really, that's the future of the sport. Getting young kids involved. Running's a pretty simple sport. It's a healthy sport, and keeping kids active. That's a part of this event and the philosophy of what we do as well.
And then we're gonna have some of the top racers are gonna start to come in at about 6:30 local time here, and 6:45. But then starting at 7 p.m. tonight, there is going to be an after race party at what has been rebranded for the weekend, Bar La Sportiva. If you're familiar with bar sport here in Cortina, it has been rebranded as Bar La Sportiva for the weekend, and they're going to have a party going on there. DJ set is going to be going on. I saw that if you have your bib from the 10K, you can get a free drink down there. I don't know what happened to the poor 20K bib holders on that situation, but perhaps they'll be able to talk to some people at the door and fix that.
I'm sure the 10K bib holders will be passing a drink to their 20K runners who are coming into the finish.
And then tomorrow morning, and kind of also getting to another one of the guests that we're going to have today, Anton Krupichka, who's going to be with us all weekend, just a superstar of the sport of ultra running, but just outdoors sports in general. And he's going to be with us all weekend. But tomorrow morning, he's taking part in a community run that's going to be leaving from the La Sportiva store here on Corso Italia.
Yeah.
I believe at 11 a.m., yes?
That's right. The community run leaves at the La Sportiva store at 11 o'clock in the morning, and you can register for that by passing by the La Sportiva hub here or passing directly at the La Sportiva store. And they're going to be running out to meet the first 50K runners coming into the finish line. So join the run, and you'll get to see the finish line of the 50K runners coming in. That'll be fun.
Oh, that'll be excellent. And then, I think we can kind of jump right into it. Basically, we're going to have Nicola come in here, a sports nutritionist, actually doctor, or not nutritionist, but doctor of sports physiology, if I understand correctly, and kind of talking about the elite athletes, some of the names that we're going to be hearing all weekend.
That's right. Nicola, he's a sports scientist and joined us last year to manage the La Sportiva running team. So it's great to have his experience. And apparently he doesn't need much sleep because he supports the 120K runners all through the night.
In fact, I've just seen him been wandering back and forth, touching base with everybody, and no sleep for that guy whatsoever. Very busy guy, because he also takes part in sky races. He's an athlete himself as well as coaching.
That's right. So he'll join us now. But don't forget, you pass by the La Sportiva hub, and you can also try out some of the new models of the La Sportiva Ultra Trail running shoes, the Prodigio series. So that's going on from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So just pass by, and you can try out and test some of the shoes, and also see what else we're going on. We got some nice.
We have like a little La Sportiva village set up where you can take in some of the history of the race. It started back in 2007. Moved to Cortina here in 2012. La Sportiva became the main sponsor in 2019, I believe it was.
That's correct.
And so you can actually take out, I saw there's some historic pairs of shoes out there with some signatures that kind of show you the evolution, perhaps, of some of the gear. There's also a nice geographical representation of the 120K that shows you actually how much elevation change is going on, how high they're getting up there in the Dolomites.
Isn't it cool? A neat map of the course. It really gives you the idea of how much elevation the runners will be taking on Friday night.
Exactly.
Right, so let's bring in Nicola now, shall we?
Yeah, I think we'll cut out for a second here. We'll bring him in, get him set up, and we can kind of jump into the races and the athletes.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, we are back here with Nicola Giovanelli. I saw that's with one N. specifically on your social. I wanted to make sure to point that out, make sure everybody, the world knew that. He is a PhD in exercise physiology and also the author of trail running and ultra trail running. Thank you so much for coming in with us and kind of sharing some insight to us.
Yeah, great to have you here, Nicola. You've got a nice backstory with La Sportiva as well as your own running history. But yeah, let's start with you. La Sportiva athlete for how many years?
I stopped counting them, but I think maybe 15 or 16. And but in the last 2 years, I'm also working with La Sportiva as a team coordinator with the athletes of the international team. So I'm in La Sportiva for a long time now, and yeah, it's an honor for me, and I like the mood of La Sportiva, and it's really
it's pretty relaxed in general here, and we like to look after everybody. But I shouted you out as not needing much sleep because you're one of the biggest supporters of the runners out on the course. So maybe describe a little bit kind of your job, kind of day to day.
What are you going to be doing this weekend exactly?
First thing, I will race tonight, so the 20K, and it will be probably the 2 more relaxed hours of the weekend, for me at least.
You can kind of turn off your mind, just get out there and run, and not have to stress too much. It's just on you, you know.
Turn off the phone.
Perfect.
And tomorrow night I will be on the race course, and I follow Sophie Grant for the Lavaredo 120. I will assist Sophie in Misurina and Passo Zau, and the 2 others aid station will be covered from Michel.
When you say assist, what kind of things will you be doing at the Misurina or at the support stations?
Actually, in the long race, they have 4 aid stations where they can get external aid. In these stations, we give to the athletes some food, or they change the jazz, or if they need anything to change. Usually, they have for every aid station a bag with the gear or with
specific gear, specific food, specific nutrition.
What they need, and at the end, we don't really do something there. We just put the
just hand it to them, and then
but it is important to cheer them, to maybe to give them some feedback about the race, also the ranking, and how they feel, and to help them also from a motivational point of view.
Oh yeah, the mental aspect, which probably is just as important, if not more important, on a race of 120 kilometers.
Yeah. So even if they look terrible, what do you say to motivate them?
Usually, you are not 100% correct. I mean, if they are losing time from the lead, for example, you don't say that they are losing time. You say that they are
There's coaching motivational tactics that must be used in certain situations, competitive situations. Sometimes the truth is not always necessary.
And also you need some fantasy too.
Absolutely.
But you're right. It's the motivational part and the mental side of being a top runner. I think is becoming more and more understood, and I think it's a part where it kind of separates, the really good runners from the absolute best runners, and I think as a supporter, or as a coach or a supporter, there's some like little tricks you can do to kind of keep the motivation high and make sure that the runners are focused, not on kind of what's behind them, but kind of to keep looking forward and to keep pushing, to keep them focused on
in particular in long races, they have, all of them, they have some point in which they are not, they don't feel really good, so they have just to keep going and to wait that it is getting better again. So it is important to be there in that moment.
There was a quote that I actually saw kind of preparing to get ready to come here again this year. I saw basically one of the elite runners said in every big race, in every race, there's a point where I think about quitting.
Yeah.
And I was going to kind of start to ask around a little bit. Is that for kind of universal throughout the ultra trail, like the ultra distances? You're going to go through a moment or two?
Yeah,
Or
I
10?
think yeah, or 10 maybe. Yeah. I think it is personal, and some athletes they suffer more this aspect. Some others they don't have any mental burnout. Can we call it?
Sure.
that?
Yeah.
It is important, and it is also a matter of luck to be there when they have this time. If they reach the A station when they are in the lowest,
Down in the valley, as it were.
It's easier because you can assist them. But it is also easier to quit the race if they are there, because they are at the station.
Exactly.
If they have a bad moment when they are 10 kilometers away in the mountains and they want to quit, they have to walk or
Still
to
have to
run.
get to the next point exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, well, let's quickly just run through some we've got here. I think that's going to set up the weekend for us. And one that really stood out to me, first time here at Lavaredo Ultra Trail, is Courtney Dalwalter. She's just been smashing ultra running for some years now. So, what are your thoughts on having her here? And for me, that's huge.
Maybe we have her in the podium. In the overall podium at the end. What do you think, Dono?
I said exactly the same thing. So.
No, I think it is super for Italy in general, for trail running movement in Italy, and for Lavaredo organization. For us, it is super to have Courtney racing here for the first. I think she's in Italy for the first time.
Yeah.
Racing.
I heard first time racing here in Italy, and unless you count UTMB, because that goes
Technically, I guess it crosses
Italy.
over the border on Mont
She
Blanc.
crosses.
Yeah, but then right back into
But
France.
start and finish was in France. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's on the women's side of the 120k, and I noticed on the men's side, the defending champ, he's over on the other side of the world in USA, getting ready for Western States. So Hannes Nurnberger won't be defending his title.
And it looks like actually we're going to take a small break here. Nicola needs to, I think, jet out, probably go hand out some support, or probably get yourself ready a little bit.
I think he needs to warm up and motivate himself
Right.
to get to the top of that 20k.
Positive self-talk. Turn off your cell phone. Just enjoy and relax.
Yeah, you will see me in a couple of hours.
Yeah,
Sounds
we'll
good.
wave
In
to
front
you.
of the radio.
So the La Sportiva radio box is right here at the finish line of in Corso Italia in Cortina, and Nicola's gonna wave to us as he comes into the finish. I'm sure. So good luck today, Nicola.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you. We see you on Saturday again.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait. You can tell us all about it.
Only if you finish.
All right, and we're going to be coming back now with Stefano De Tassis, nutritionist, that's going to talk to us about basically eating before, after, and during the races, I think.
Yeah, super important. You know, the fueling side. The longer the distance, the more important what you put into your body is. You know, you need to feed the engine, don't you?
All right. So thank you so much, and we'll be back in a second. All right, we are back. We are La Sportiva Radio here in Cortina, Italy at the Loot. Okay. And I just want to remind everybody, or we want to remind everybody, that you can follow along with us both on the La Sportiva Gram right now. We're on Instagram Live streaming. And then, of course, you have us in our playlist going on the La Sportiva YouTube channel where you can follow us all weekend. And we hope that you do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, check us out, La Sportiva Gram. All the action, as well as you can find the program of the events. Also, if you swing by here, if you're in Corso Italia in Cortina, the program for La Sportiva Radio is right outside the door here, and we've got a special guest with us who's going to give us some advice, I hope, for the runners, last minute advice maybe for the runners preparing for the races, and some nutrition advice for us, Walter. So let's introduce Stefano Di Tassis. Now you're from Trento.
Stefano Di Tassis. It's a good Trentino name. I actually was asking around. I live in Trento myself for the last few years, and so when I saw where you were at, and I was kind of looking you up before you were coming in, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, thank you guys for this opportunity, and hi everybody.
Yeah, look, and you've been busy already this morning because you swung by the La Sportiva store and had a really nice presentation for runners that had joined us for the morning community run, and giving them some advice, giving some advice to our listeners out there as well.
Yeah.
Could you tell us maybe a little bit about your background in nutrition as a nutritional coach?
Yeah.
And also a runner too. Sorry to interrupt.
I think that's obvious.
Yeah, I'm a dietitian and expert in sport nutrition. So I work in this in this world since 7 years, and now I work in different places here around Trentino. I work with general population, but also with athletes, of course. I'm also a trail runner. I compete in a lot of sports. I come from cross-country skiing. I do also cycling and triathlon, and of course ultra distance races like Lavaredo. I compete here 2 years ago in the 120K and last year in the 80K.
Oh, fantastic.
So I know what it means to be outside, running under the sun and under pain.
I noticed that you were multidisciplined in the sports. You talked about growing up, and then it's also very funny. You're talking about the general population that you work with. That would be me in this situation, and then the athletes that you might be working with, professional athletes here next to me. That's nice. We can get a full 360 view on nutrition here.
But the 120K here at the Lavaredo Ultra Trail, you've had quite a result in that.
2 years ago was my first long race, the 120K, so the results were not so good, but because of some issues with my ankle. But last year in the 80K I got top 20, so I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
Were the issues with your ankle, did they start pre-race? Is it something that you brought with you into that first race, or was it something that happened out on the trail?
No, it happens during the race, Alpha Way in Cimabanche. And
a twisted ankle?
Yeah. And then I wanted to finish the race, but the pain was very, very, very big.
How do you deal with that mentally out on the trail?
It's not easy when you have some problems, but the problem was only that one. I didn't have any problems in energy, for example. So my nutrition, of course, was well planned.
Yeah, everything has to fall into place, doesn't it? So for runners that are preparing for the race, look, it's not just about what happens on the day, is it? There should be a whole strategy, kind of from the start of the training all the way through to the competition. Now, just as a general kind of diet, what do you kind of recommend?
Yeah, of course, you cannot only think about the day of the race, but you have to have a balanced diet, first of all, and then you need to adjust the nutrition for your training and for the race. Of course, to have a balanced diet, I recommend to have balanced meals. So have carbohydrates, protein, and vegetables during lunch and dinner, and also in breakfast. And I recommend for athletes at least 2 snacks during the day, just to meet energy intake needs and macronutrients and micronutrients needs. And for sure, for athletes, it's important to eat easy to digest food, easy to digest meals. So right before training or right before the race, you need to prefer carbohydrates, of course.
Could you tell us, like, what are those easy to digest foods that a person's going to find at the supermarket when they're shopping?
Well, we need to know carbohydrates are available in different types of food, like cereal, grains, fruit, potatoes. All these type of foods are good right before the training or the race. The amount of carbohydrates you eat, higher the amount is, a lot of time you need to digest. So if you eat a complete meal, you need to wait 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
If it's a small snack or a breakfast, is okay 1 or 2 hours before. All foods with carbohydrates like bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cereals, bars are okay.
What about with your experience also as an athlete yourself? Just to give people an idea, what would be the difference? But somebody who doesn't do any sport compared to somebody who is really training for an ultra marathon, an ultra trail marathon, what would be the difference in energy needs between somebody who doesn't need sport but just needs to kind of like find
energy you need to put inside your reservoir, inside your tank is in athletes more, because you have resting metabolic rate.
Sure.
That is the main part of the energy expenditure, and then you have the energy expenditure of the physical activity. So this is a wide range percentage of energy expenditure. So for an athlete that stay outside hours in training or in race, you need to eat more, but you don't forget to eat well. So you eat more but well.
Yeah, good, and probably like a lot more. I would, even, could it be even double the quantity or double the I guess you talk about joules and energy, and would I know it's different for everybody, but I could imagine it could be 50% or more compared to the needs.
Yes, it's not so easy to have a right number, but it can be.
We put you on the spot. So let's move a bit closer to race day. And what about in the last days leading up to the race? And I was very interested to hear Andreas Reiterer talk about that. For him as a top runner, he's not going to change his diet that much coming into race day. So he doesn't want to try anything new leading up to the race day, but he still does a couple of things in the last 2 days.
For sure, for everybody, it's recommended to think every training is like a race. So you always have to balance good your diet. Then yes, the 1 or 2 days before the race is recommended to have a carbo load. So eat more carbohydrates, but don't forget proteins, fats, and vegetables, of course. And the meal before the race is important, of course. If it's the dinner, I recommend a normal balanced plate. If it's the breakfast, I recommend a breakfast that meets your habits. Don't change your habits just for the day of the race, because you can have maybe some problems. So if your breakfast, if in breakfast you're used to consume bread and so milk, try this also on the race day. Don't change. Maybe you eat a little bit more but don't change. Don't eat pasta or rice.
So
at breakfast.
the routine is almost as important
Yeah,
as what you're eating.
Yeah, you need to train.
Not to shock your body.
You need to train also nutritional strategy. So this will be your routine, and okay for the race, okay for the training.
Yeah. And what about for the different distances as well? Like your pre-race meal, will it be different depending on how long you're going to be running, or it's more or less the same?
The pre-meal will be the same. I think, it doesn't matter. But what change is how do you manage the during.
So we're back talking to Stefano about the pre-race strategy, and I want to get into the actual race, what happens during the race, because that's fascinating. The energy needs of a runner, and also, what I find, with some of the runners I also coach, just what kind of works in terms of being comfortable to eat, because that's a big deal for runners. So when they're during the race, what is a kind of a strategy you can use to get enough energy needs, but without feeling uncomfortable?
Problems, during the race, of course, you need to first hydrate, because this is a very important thing to understand. At least half a liter per hour, but it depends on the weather and on the temperature, of course. So is half a liter or more. And then for sure you need to eat carbohydrates, our primary source of energy and easy to digest carbohydrates. So maltodextrin you can find in powder to put in water, so solution. And then we have gels or bars, carbohydrate gels or bars.
Do you have an opinion about whether a more solid food is easier on the stomach to digest during a long race, or do you prefer there's all these different types of gels and mixtures out there? Or again, is it personal taste?
Yeah, for sure, gels and maltodextrin in solution are easy to digest. For sure. Bars are a little bit
denser.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. They're,
okay. No, they are a little bit difficult to digest. Yes. Then, because of the distance, you need to adjust the strategy. For shorter distance, you need to prefer gels or liquids, and for longer distance, you can also consider common foods like bananas, biscuits, because of the intensity of the effort.
Sure.
If the effort is low intensity, you can also eat some solid foods. If is high intensity effort is better to stay liquid.
Yeah,
you know?
so the faster you run, the more,
more you
liquid
burn, right?
You want to be. Well, one of the things that because I think the sports science and nutrition has really made big advances in the last 5 years. But one of the things that you can kind of measure, because you can see the amount of grams that you're consuming in each package, and of course the weight of these foods is much more concentrated, so you don't need to carry as much weight with you when you're carrying the gels and if you're using bars. But what about there's a lot of talk about how many grams of carbs per hour.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about per hour. I
want to hear your opinion on this.
In the last years, we have a lot of news in this way, and recommendation for sports, for endurance sports, talks about from 30 to 120 grams per hour.
Wow,
but
that's
It's a
big
pretty
range.
big range. Yeah.
the range is big. If the race is shorter, you need less carbohydrates per hour, because you have a reserve from the pre. Okay, but if the race is longer, you need to stay from 60 to 120 grams per hour, and you need to train this because our stomach is not so used to digest this amount of carbohydrates altogether. So you need to train these strategies to be sure you don't have stomach or gastrointestinal
So you're saying
problem.
not only do you need to smash the quads, keep the muscles in the legs like ready to go, but also you need to work on your stomach, your digestion as part of the
It's part
entire
of-
process, the
part of
racing
training.
process, training your stomach.
Yeah, that's such good advice to try everything in training as much as you can before you come to the race day, because you put so much of yourself into preparing for one special
Sure.
day. You don't want to leave anything to chance, and I think the nutrition side of things is something that a lot of people forget about, that during training they should be getting as much or as more carbs than they would expect to need in the race.
All right. Well, we have Anton Krupicka's coming up. He's going to stop in, and we don't want to keep Stefano too long.
Yeah, well, he's going to tell us about all the potato chips he likes to eat during races, I'm sure.
But before we let you go, like just on a personal note, do you have a famous last meal before your races, or a favorite merenda or snack while you're racing yourself?
No, I have my own habit, and I keep them during.
Wait, do you have like a specific dish? Like
I think he's keeping them secret.
Exactly. He doesn't want to get.
No, for example, my breakfast before a race, if the race is in the morning, is a porridge plus some proteins and bread with jam and a tea.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
just to finish off on because Stefano just mentioned protein, but post race as well. That's super important, isn't it, to actually increase the protein intake for muscle repair.
During the day, protein intake is important during the day and after the exercise, not during. Because it's not so easy to digest protein during an effort.
Sure.
But after activity is okay for a good recovery to have carbohydrates and protein as well.
Yeah, I really like that advice. Look, thank you so much, Stefano.
Yeah,
for your
thank you,
time
Stefano,
being
for
here.
coming in and talking with us. It's excellent.
Yeah,
Thank
we're gonna take a photo together as well, and we're gonna hang it on our wall. So we're gonna build up our wall of guests here that you're gonna see behind us, and we're gonna take a nice selfie. So make sure you have a good smile there, Walter.
Right. Thank you so much, Stefano.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we are back here again on Instagram Live and also the La Sportiva YouTube channel. And we're joined by a very special guest and soon to be a trail correspondent for us over the weekend as well, Anton Krupichka. Thank you for coming in, sir.
That's right. Look, a multiple Leadville 100-mile winner in the mid-2000s. Also a winner here in 2014, 120K at Lavaredo Ultra Trail. And then a big comeback in 2021 to place third at Leadville after 3 years without any racing. Also on this weekend is the Western States over in California, and Anton was a second place finisher in 2010. And when looking back at the stats, I would say almost unbeatable in the U.S. ultra trail running scene from the mid 2000s to 2010. So thanks, Anton, for being here with us today. And look, I know you've flown straight in, so maybe a bit of jet lag from your home base in Colorado. But great to have you here. And look, what have you been doing so far? I know you've been busy already, even though you've just touched European soil.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. I mean, I've been in Italy for less than 24 hours, and but I've already gone on 2 runs, so I guess making my most of the time here.
Beautiful.
I just had a short kind of community run this morning from the La Sportiva store. I don't know, there was probably close to 100 people there. And then just went for a couple hours right now on just like a local Via Ferrata. I got maybe 1,000 meters vertical climbing.
Is it a trail that you know, or an area that you know just from having come here, spent enough time here so often?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. This is maybe, I don't know, my 9th or 10th time in Cortina. So I've gotten pretty familiar with my favorite runs, like from town.
Sure, no doubt.
Yeah, and this one just goes up into Punta Fiammes over here. So.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah, what a way! Yeah, that's great, and that is kind of a perfect kind of segue into kind of what you've been up to over the last many years, really. But yeah, the idea of it's not just about the running, isn't it? Like you really are a person who encompasses all of outdoor sports.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose for me it started over a decade ago, maybe 2011. I broke my leg, and coming back from that, I really started diversifying what I was doing to stay fit, but also to make the sport itself more sustainable, I guess. Running is a pretty abusive sport, and for me, I had to really try other activities in order to maintain my excitement for it and maintain my health for it, have my legs hold up, basically. So.
When you were a kid, also going back to high school, middle school type, did you focus on one sport, or did you vary it? Did you play different sports with the changing seasons?
No, I was all in on running from age 11. Basically, I've been running for 30 years, and yeah, that was the thing. From basically for 15 years, from 1995 to 2011, I only ran, and that was it. So I have that huge kind of lifetime base of running.
Sure.
But for the last 10 going on 15 years now, have really enjoyed making the running something I can do long term by incorporating other activities, basically. So.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that approach. The whole idea that running is a high impact sport at the end of the day, and I actually believe that trail running is the best form of running because you're going uphill and you're using kind of one set of muscle groups, and yet you're going downhill, you're using something different. So I think for the body, it's a healthier type of running you can do, but still the cross training aspect I think is so important to keep you running for as long as we want to run. I mean, you're probably like myself where you say, I've never said I'm never going to retire. I'll just kind of maybe fade away at some point.
Yeah, I mean, moving outside is going to be the constant for me my whole life. But running, it's my roots and history and background. So I never want to give that up. And it's also the most elemental and pure and simple, I would say, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of times it's the most convenient. I go on a trip like this to Europe and just need to pack a pair of running shoes, and I can still get out in the mountains. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, but rumor has it that you might be putting on a race number sometime. But is that right? Are you looking at getting?
Maybe, I don't know. Last year I focused on in the second half of the season I wanted to qualify for UTMB, and I was successful in doing that. So I have an entry into UTMB. But I'm not sure yet if I'll use it or not.
Just a little teaser there. I have an entry. I have an entry, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Like I said, I've been running for 30 years and racing for 30 years, and definitely, I'm 41 now. It's the racing itself probably doesn't appeal to me as much as it did 10 or 15 years ago. But I get more inspired by. Probably some more backyard things in Colorado, just having a real close connection to the mountain ranges there, and focusing on a couple projects this summer that give me a good excuse to spend a lot of time in those mountains.
No doubt. I mean, I saw also like recently, let's see, I think you did, you have the fastest known time for the LA Freeway, which is a trail along the Continental Divide. I was taking a look at some of the pictures. Photos from that was just absolutely spectacular, and picturing. I also grew up out on the West Coast in the United States, and so those mountains and those big open wild spaces and that connection, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so that particularly is literally the skyline over Boulder, and it's pretty compelling because the whole thing is between 3,700 meters and 4,300 meters or so. So very high, very technical, and requires a lot of time on the route itself to be able to move through that kind of terrain efficiently. And that's the stuff that really appeals to me now, I guess. There's still a performance element to it, but I guess the thing that really gets me excited is the requirement that's to really know a place, I suppose. And that's what motivates me the most now, I would say.
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of you against the course rather than you competing against other people. That kind of inspires you today.
Yeah, I think certainly when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, absolutely I was seeking more like external validation and trying to see how I stacked up against everyone and wanting to be the best. And I think, now I'm in my 40s, a little more secure in my identity and like personality and don't feel quite the need for that. But still, I wouldn't even think of, FKTs and that kind of thing against you being against the course, but more almost like celebrating the course and honoring it by giving it your best effort and taking the time to learn the route. And yeah, that's the stuff that really gets me excited.
Yeah, exactly. I like what you say by honoring it because, of course, you have a huge following, and when you're out there in those places, you are inspiring people to kind of get out there as well, be healthy, go out and challenge yourself. And would you say it's more the FKT, the fastest known time kind of things that is really kind of like giving you the why?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the fastest known times. For me, if I'm going to get the best out of myself, I have to be kind of pushing myself, I suppose, and sort of seeking like the edge of what's my best effort. But the time itself doesn't really matter. If it's the fastest known time, great. But mostly I just want to be trying, like putting forth the best version of myself on that day.
Exactly, because it's about you. And
it's like the process that goes into that is what's most important to me. Yeah, that's the stuff. But I don't know. I still get excited sometimes about, for me, like a 100-mile race is a huge challenge. And that's probably the type of racing I still find most interesting because just simply covering that distance it still feels like an accomplishment because it's never certain. There's still that element of adventure to it, of like uncertainty and like you're going to have to confront yourself at some point. And it's going to be difficult. So
yeah, and I really feel that the explosion of trail running and explosion of ultra trail comes down to that very point that it doesn't matter where you are in the field, it doesn't matter how strong you are, and when you start that race, everybody is as nervous as everyone else, thinking, okay, I have to accomplish this distance, and I have to manage myself, I have to manage my energy, I have to fuel, I have to pace myself, and it's the same no matter where you are in the field.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the distance, the enormity of it is this humbling like equalizer, basically, of no matter, as long as you're out there trying to cover that distance, you're having a very similar experience to everyone else in the race too. So.
Exactly. Now, it kind of brings me on to talking about some of the gear. Now, you've been well known over the years for going really minimal, very lightweight. What about in the last kind of, I would say 10 years? Is there anything that you've seen in terms of the gear, or whether it's kind of on the nutrition side or the training side, that has kind of been a bit of a game changer in the sport?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I guess you have to mention shoes. Those. I would say recently, just maybe in like the last 5 years, there's been a big step forward in terms of using supercritical foams, even carbon plates, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but and that has just more protection, more propulsive ability. That's helped a lot, I think, both in allowing athletes to train harder and recover better, but then also be faster on race day just through a better shoe, basically. But then on top of that, I think, athletes are really, the sport is really professionalizing, I would say, in that the performance side is being taken very seriously. And as a result, people are optimizing all sorts of different things, whether it's hydration, nutrition, maximizing the amount of carbohydrate you're taking in, getting tested for how much sodium electrolytes you need, how many, liters of water you should be drinking every hour. When I was racing at the top, all that stuff was by feel. And that's fine, but of course it's not going to be optimized then. And then, I don't know, finally it's like, it's funny how things come in waves, but like just recently in the last year or two, people have really been going hard on heat training, even if the race isn't hot. It's a modality for improving hemoglobin mass in your blood, which is how you carry oxygen. So it's sort of like an alternative to altitude training, or like a supplement to altitude training.
Exactly. It was because that was the big that was a big deal sort of 20 years ago, was going to altitude and then kind of being able to phase it correctly so that you had the greatest benefits from it. But always a little bit it was a little bit hit and miss sometimes for runners that didn't that weren't born or lived at altitude.
Yeah, and I think there was maybe an intuitive sense that training in the heat could improve your fitness. I grew up in a very hot and humid part of North America, and it always seemed like coming off the summer, I was particularly fit, and whenever I would go to like a cooler climate, then it was like, this is cheating,
Okay.
like this, it feels so much easier.
Right.
So, but now there's really been a lot of science behind it, and people are really optimizing it and doing like heat blocks. So I don't know, the performance edge of a sport is always moving forward, which is interesting. And if anything else, there's always going to be, whenever there's head-to-head competition though, no matter how fast everyone's going, that creates drama and interest, and I think it makes the sport exciting.
I wanted to ask you just a small thing about the gear that came up when I was reading about you. Basically, on the LA freeway, you noted very specifically that you did not wear socks.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But then it made me think, like, for example, on a longer race, like 120K, because I think the LA freeway was about 38 miles, 34 or 38 miles.
But
very technical,
Yeah, so it
different
took me
types of terrain.
Yeah, it took me like 13 hours.
Okay.
wow.
But so, like, on a 120, will you wear socks, or do you go sockless typically? Have you always been a non-sock guy?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. So...
What about the non-shirt guy?
yeah. I would say early on in my running career, I was sockless. Like, I know when I won Lavaredo, I wasn't wearing socks.
All right.
Western States, Leadville, not socks. But then for races, I typically am wearing socks. The reason I didn't wear socks on the LA freeway is it is a very technical route, both technical footing, but then also like technical climbing and scrambling.
Right.
And so I really want my feet to be precise inside of my shoe, and I find with a sock, it's too much. You can't get as like precise of a fit with the shoe, but also my foot moves around inside the shoe more, so it's really like detailed stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many people wear socks when they're wearing climbing shoes?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Yeah. And it's a similar principle for sure. But then I didn't wear socks, but sometimes I'll wear like a lightweight gaiter over the shoe to still keep like stones and debris out of the shoe.
Sure.
Because I don't want to get blisters, but and I generally don't. Like, I'll tape very specific spots on my feet to prevent regular hot spots.
Obviously.
But yeah, I prefer not to wear socks for.
All right.
Yeah.
But to be clear, for anybody just starting their ultra trail running journey, we probably recommend to use socks.
We have a fine selection of socks available down at the La Sportiva store here on Corso Italia.
But let's talk a little bit about, because you did just briefly mention it, the professionalism that's coming into the sport.
Absolutely.
And the fact that there are runners now that can be full-time ultra trail runners and just focus on that with all the benefits that has, especially I would say being able to train hard, but probably even more so being able to recover properly after a race. But you've kind of been you kind of carved your own path by being a professional athlete for so many years. But how did you kind of find your way doing that when there wasn't really the I guess the accepted way of doing it with sponsorship or with high prize money and things? So how did you do that?
Man, that's a complicated question. I think. Well, first off, I think I was lucky, just like timing in the sport. I started up, like you said, in the 2000s, and I think for the last, going on 20 years, there's just been a regular uptick in the sport in terms of the interest in it and the opportunities for runners. But, I mean, this is going to be an unsatisfactory answer, but I guess the whole time I've always just tried to stay true to myself and like what interests me, and even when I was performing at the very top end of the sport, performance wasn't always my number one priority. I wasn't doing all the optimizing stuff. I wasn't digging into all the details to figure out how I could go as fast as possible. And I don't know, it's maybe this is just something that's come about as I've gotten older, but it's a more values driven approach to the act of running rather than performance driven. And I think performance can come out of that.
Sure.
But you have to decide what it is that motivates you and what kind of underlying value structure you have that, I don't know, organizes your life and how running fits into that.
Yeah.
And
I think
it seems like it's resonated with people a little bit, and so,
exactly right. And I think that's very true, because your values, I think, are really well respected by so many runners out there, and you're one of the people that people kind of want to aspire to be like, that you do really respect the places that you run in, and the advice that you give on social media is really thoughtful, and people really do value that. So I think there's while you say you might not have done as much as you can on the performance side, I think the fact that you're the type of athlete that people can really kind of relate to has kind of, whether you know it or not, has really helped your let's say career anyway. So
Sure.
I think I think as ultra, as people that do things out in the mountains that we love to be, I think having you kind of, talking about that right from a long time ago has really set the tone.
Just out of curiosity, like for example, though, like through your career and having a following from the early 2000s all the way through, as you've kind of transition, or I wouldn't even say transition, but as you started to kind of branch out into some other sports, other activities that maybe is not necessarily trying to win a UTMB or Western States, have you gotten a pushback from some of the people, your fans, that would prefer instead to see you out there hitting the trail?
Maybe, I don't know. I think there's sort of, you feel kind of implicit expectations from people, I suppose, because, it's just as runners, it's always like, oh, like, what's your next race and that kind of thing. And
obviously.
Obviously the subtext is like, you should have a next race.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess that can cause a little bit of angst, but at the end of the day, like, I'm only going to do what I want to do and what motivates me. And I don't think it's not something you can do. It's not sustainable if you're just meeting outside expectations all the
Sure.
time. There has to be like intrinsic, true internal motivation. And so I suppose that's how these other things, whether it's climbing or cycling, I write about them and I share them because it's what I'm excited about. And if people aren't interested in it, then that's fine. I don't know. Yeah.
Kids, that's just good life advice right there. Not just sports advice, but just good life advice. You put that in your back pocket and save it.
Yeah, and not sort of running away from the problems as well, because when the injuries arrived, you thought, well, okay, well, how can I manage that? And the response to that is like, for other people, is like, they might have I can't run. What do I do? And
Right.
yet you've shown everybody a way.
Well, I mean, for me, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and probably for the first 10 or 15, I was not good when I got injured. It was, I've never had like serious like mental health issues, but whenever, as runners, we know, like when you get injured, like, you go into like at least a light depression, and that's not sustainable, and that's sort of, once I found, whether it's skiing in the wintertime or, riding a bike, rock climbing, these things, they fulfill me, I would say, nearly as much as running. Certainly enough to like keep my life on an even keel,
Good, nice.
when I'm dealing with an injury. But then ultimately, they've like allowed me to extend my running career because I don't know, maybe I run 5 days a week now, 4 or 5 days a week, but I don't know. I feel like I'm about as fit as I've ever been, and part of that comes from such a large lifetime base, but I think it's also if you can bring like the mental excitement and energy to running still after doing it for 30 years, then that's a
That's
a net,
something
net
that's
plus.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Look, we're going to have to wrap this up soon, unfortunately, but we do have Anton joining us tomorrow night.
Yeah, throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and of course Anton's going to be giving some live updates out on the course.
And you guys are going to be doing a workshop or a talk as well together tomorrow evening, right?
Yeah, tomorrow evening before the start of the 120K. So come down early. The build-up's going to be pretty. Like this is one
See
of the
Jono
highlights
and
of the
Anton
year.
in person, like it's going to be fantastic.
That might not be the highlight, but the evening is going to be that. It's going to build. I swear. But what about some advice for the people like all the training is done, all the work is done, but okay, it might be really quite a new experience for people, kind of being in such a big event. What about some kind of last minute, or how to approach race day or race time, and what they should maybe a couple of tips for them.
I mean, I'm going to assume that no matter what distance people are doing, that distance is a suitable challenge for them. It's just finishing it is probably going to be an accomplishment, and I don't know, when you're out there, try and have just some joy for where you are. Like, I mean, I was running this afternoon, and like it's an insane place where we are in the Dolomites. I think maybe it's easy to get desensitized to it. I mean, like I said, I've been coming here for a decade.
No, I've been living here for long.
Yeah.
Every morning you wake up, you go and look out, and you go, my goodness,
Yeah,
like
it's not normal.
yeah, this is not normal.
And I live
very
in
lucky.
a very nice place in the United States, and I still feel a lot of gratitude for it every day. But so I don't know. Draw inspiration from your surroundings, your fellow competitors, and that's why you do these races, is the community aspect of it, I think. And so lean into that when you're out there and having a hard time, and just know that the hard time is the point too, because you will feel so much better if you persevere and get to the finish. So.
Yeah, great advice. Look, thanks so much, Anton,
thank you
for
so much,
joining
man.
us here.
Thanks,
Stick
guys.
around. We're going to do a selfie together, and we'll look forward to seeing you, or to hearing and seeing you soon.
We're gonna go on like about a
a break.
2-hour pause, and then we're coming back at 5:30 our time. Bring you the afternoon programming. A couple more interviews. We have Sophie Grant.
Yeah, Sophie Grant. Well done. Good accent there.
There you go.
Sophie Grant, fellow New Zealander, is going to join us on the show. with her husband George, talking about what she's been doing running-wise, and she's had some challenges as well with injuries. And also we're going to touch on the supporters' role and how to crew at some of these races, because you know, we might put runners on the pedestal and celebrate them, but there's always a team behind them.
Exactly. Not happening just one person.
Okay, thanks, Anton.
Thank you so much, Anton.
Thanks a lot, guys.